Ric Bucher now joining us. He'll be on Speak, 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific today on FS1. Bukes, how? But now I don't know what was your. I was abroad.
Yes, you were. Good to have you back.
Very sophisticated sounding.
World traveler.
Okay, so I didn't know who you picked in this series. Almost everybody has Denver. Are you surprised? First of all, in game one, Miami got great looks. They just couldn't hit them.
Yeah.
Didn't have their sea legs, right? They didn't have the mountain.
Yeah.
Dexterity. They weren't ready quite for it. But my takeaway in the first two games is Miami's getting a ton of open looks.
Yeah. Yeah. My take is certainly there's that. They are by and large 3-point looks, right?
Yeah.
So if they shoot at a high percentage, then they've got an advantage there. I do believe that they can't live off of that exclusively. So it's a matter of it's really important that they get a lead early because then they can go to their mid-range a little bit more, which they need to mix in order to be effective. But honestly, the way I look at it is Denver has played two terrible games to this point, or a mediocre game the first game and a terrible game two.
They were bad in the fourth yesterday. They're bad.
They were bad from the start in terms of their effort and the first 5 minutes. I mean, I went back and watched the first half again this morning, and they didn't take any shots within the rhythm of their offense. They were just coming down and jacking it, and there was no attention to detail defensively. And Miami was getting wide open looks, and I love what Eric Spoelstra did, which was Max Strus didn't hit a shot in game one. And he was like, you know what? We're running plays for you right out of the gate in game two because you're going to get the same looks and you're going to hit them. And it's exactly what he did. He had 4 threes in the first quarter. So that, along with attacking Nikola Jokic, we were ready to anoint him as the greatest player on the planet. I brought up the fact that you have to be able to play some defense in order to be the greatest player on the planet.
He wasn't great last night.
And he was, I mean, Cody Zeller, they used everybody to attack him, and everybody was effective.
You know, it's interesting. I don't think Denver's very good. But it's interesting when you have a point center, and Jamal Murray's more of a 2. They don't have a classic point guard. And at the end of regulation, what I find with Denver is it's a very good team with few flaws. But sometimes getting into their offense can be clunky. I've said this about the Clippers.
Sure. Yep.
When Paul George and Kawhi are running the offense, it's like, could somebody get me a point guard here? And at the end of the game, they did not take a timeout. And my takeaway was they're not good at that. They're better to just freewheel and let it go. They didn't want to take a timeout and set up because Miami, I don't think Denver trusts itself to get a quick shot.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, and they had 11 seconds, right? When they got the ball. And I would say at least 2 out of 5 times, if not 3 out of 5 times, if Denver needs a 3-point shot, they're going to get it and make it in those circumstances. Yeah. The only reason you would call timeout is if you wanted to get Michael Porter Jr. on the floor, but he was so horrendous, particularly hitting shots. There was no reason to get him on the floor to give yourself a little more space and to give Miami an opportunity to set their defense. Yeah. But you make a great point about it's one of the detractions when it comes to playing through Jokic or any big man.
Right.
Is that by and large, they need to get to their spot. You need to get them the ball, which takes a little bit of time, and then you need to get them to their spot. And I thought you saw Jokic recognizing that, which is why he was attacking off the dribble right from the first play of the game. It was like, oh, they're gonna single cover me. They're gonna make me a scorer. I can't mess around and think I'm not going to draw a double team, so let me go attack right away and show them that me scoring is not going to be an effective way to win the game. And lo and behold, it was.
I thought Mike Malone, after the game, ripping his team for effort, was a great chess match. So that flight to Miami, the minute the game, it's very Phil Jackson. Yep. The minute the game is over, I'm going to deliver my message either to the officials or my locker room.
Yep.
And I thought Mike did a good job of that. Did you think effort was a problem?
Yeah. I mean, across the board. And Jokic wasn't an exception. Jamal Murray wasn't an exception. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Michael Porter Jr. were at the head of the line. Christian Brown was really the only guy, and Bruce Brown were the only two guys who played with the kind of energy that you would expect from a team in the finals.
I like Bruce Brown,
Yeah, and look, across the board, this is my one concern, and I'm not really concerned. I picked Denver in 5. I still expect that to happen. I think they're going to be much more focused and dialed in on the road. But this is the first time they're on the finals platform, on the final stage, and they've played 2 games as if, I don't want to say that the stage is too big for them, but they don't realize the importance of you have to execute and you have to play hard every single second. They've had plenty of games this year where they coasted for 3 quarters and they closed out in the 4th. And they nearly did it in game 2 with what, 4 minutes of quality play at the end of the game. But to think that you're going to beat a Miami Heat team not playing hard throughout the game is a mistake.
All right, J-Mac, what was that story earlier, J-Mac, that 2 reporters simultaneously came out with a story, meaning somebody called them simultaneously on the speakerphone and said, right, guys, you can break the story. I'm going to give it to 2 of you.
Yeah.
So these are people, who are the 2 people?
Shams and Chris Haynes.
Okay, are they considered LeBron allies?
No. Shams is in the Kyrie Irving camp.
Okay, do you think the news came from Kyrie or Clutch?
Oh, Kyrie.
Okay, so Kyrie sent the message out, the message being he wants LeBron in Dallas.
Yes.
And what do you make of the story?
I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by the idea that you would have LeBron, Luka, and Kyrie playing together.
Oh, love it.
You love it offensively. You don't love it defensively.
Who cares about defense?
Oh my goodness. The other 2 guys are going to go, come on, we can't do this. Literally, the other 2 guys on the floor would be, come on. You guys are having all the fun offensively. We got to carry the load defensively. We can't possibly make this work. What I find interesting about it, and I think last week when you were off living in ice hotels or whatever the hell you were doing.
Yeah, whatever.
That we talked about the Kyrie for DeAndre Ayton deal to Phoenix.
Right.
And I talked to somebody yesterday who is in that circle and said, I don't know if KD is ready to hook up with Kyrie again. I had heard since Brooklyn, he blamed it on Sean Marks and Joe Tsai and Steve Nash, and they weren't going to give Kyrie an extension. But if Phoenix is not interested and KD is not interested in Kyrie,
he has no market.
And who can I team up with? And who can I use as leverage?
So this is Kyrie calling to reporters, put it out there, stir the pot.
Yeah, I mean, it is such a ridiculous notion that LeBron would go to Dallas.
It sounds...
Why would he go to Dallas? Why would what possibility?
Let me throw it out. LeBron's smart, knows the game. Mm-hmm. His exit strategies have been brilliant. Mm-hmm. Men are good at starting things, relationships, wars. We never end them well. Mm-hmm. We're bad at that. Not LeBron. He's great at exit strategies.
Yeah.
He knows he's a 55-game player now.
Yeah.
He can be great in moments, not even entire games. That's very rare. He has to now join somebody that plays Tatum, Luka, 70 games.
Sure.
And he's the 1A. I think LeBron's very comfortable. I think he's wanted AD to be this for 3 years.
Yep.
And he wouldn't take the baton.
Yep.
And so LeBron looks at Luka and go, okay, I got my young star. I can now be great in moments. I can be a mentor. By the way, if I'm Dallas is getting to a point now, the Kyrie thing didn't work. The Jalen thing's not perfect. Porzingis, we can mess around. LeBron works with but Mark Cuban's an entrepreneur. LeBron in town, he's not going to listen to that?
Okay, but the reality is, if he was a free agent, I would consider that.
Okay.
Remote possibility, but at least a possibility. But he's still getting paid like $40-some million next season. I don't know how you possibly make that work.
Well, your bench wouldn't be great.
Your bench you and me would be sitting on the bench. They'd have guys there just wearing uniforms just so it looked like they had a full team.
Okay, let's go to this. So Bob Meyer out, just says, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
When he left the Warriors, is it a contract thing? There's always a price for everybody. I could argue Kerr got paid.
Yeah.
Draymond, Steph, Clay, Bob didn't. Was it a money situation?
No, not at all.
He was worn out.
Not at all. He's got 3 young daughters. He's completely worn out. The Warriors are at a nexus right now.
They sure are.
That is incredibly challenging. I mean, and so whatever time and energy that he invested in getting the Warriors to those 4 championships in over 8 years, he would have to double that effort, and it still might not work. And I can't help but feel that one of the most difficult challenges that he has or would have had, and the Warriors have, is you need to break up the big 3. You need to move on from the big 3. One of the secret sauces, or one of the secret ingredients to the Bob Myers sauce, is that unlike a lot of GMs who always keep themselves separate from the players and do not develop relationships with the players, he would play pickup, after their practices. He was in the gym. He cultivated relationships, which is why what allowed him to get through the minefields with Draymond and Steve and Jordan and all those things, right? He was able to sit down and those relationships existed, so they could have talks. But the idea now of having those relationships and moving either Draymond or Clay, and then having to look at Steph, walk into the building every day and look at Steph, or just sit down with Steph and tell him, this is what I'm doing, I think that was rather unappetizing for him.
Does the owner, Joe Lacob, want moves? Bob wasn't willing to make them, and his 3 daughters. Is the new GM going to come in and break it up?
Well, I'd be interested to see if they bring in a new GM. I would be surprised if it's not Joe's son, Kirk, or Mike Dunleavy Jr., because those guys have at least been around for a little while. The idea that you would bring somebody in from the outside who doesn't have any connection with the existing group.
No, there's a culture there.
I don't, and is going to say, this is what we're going to do. I don't know how you get that authority. So I think it's going to have to be from within. And I think the difference, and again, one of the strengths Bob had is he could tell Joe no.
Right.
Like, Joe, hey, let's trade Clay for Kevin Love. No. Let's go get Dwight Howard. Actually, they probably would have done that. Dwight was the one who said no on that. But he had the ability to convince Joe not to indulge his worst impulses. Does Mike Jr. or Kirk, his son, do they have the wherewithal to do that? That I don't know.
Okay, so when I had my brilliant trade suggestion, Jaylen Brown for Wiggins and Jordan Poole, everybody in the internet loved it. There was no dissent. It was seen as...
you went on vacation immediately afterward, too, and to Iceland to get away from the heat. Like, I got to go someplace.
Cool.
Exactly.
My guess is they won't overreact. They'll let it cool, simmer.
Yeah.
But would they take a call? I like Jaylen Brown, but there are a lot of analytics. But you get about as many turnovers as you do assists. He's not the defensive player. I think there's sometimes they feel that defensively he lapses.
It's true.
And by the way, he and Tatum, he's more aggressive. Tatum's more talented. They would take a call on Jaylen Brown, right?
Certainly they would take a call. I think it would have to be a no-brainer for Brad Stevens to pull the trigger, and I don't have one for you because I haven't really thought about, just because it's not in the realm. The first question was Joe Mazzulla, and by the way, that's the indicator that they're going to stand firm in terms of where they are.
They're going to defend him.
We're not going to make any major changes. We went 7 games in the Western Conference Finals. Do we really need to reinvent this? Right. Or is it just a matter of a tweak and allowing our young players to grow?
Okay.
And our young coach to grow?
Yeah.
That's just been kind of Brad Stevens' general approach.
Well, it's generally a smart approach.
It is. It's not exciting for
talk radio.
For talk radio and social media and and all that. But yeah, it's and especially in today's game, and you see it with the Miami Heat, and to a certain extent the Denver Nuggets. Like continuity is a huge advantage in today's game because everybody is so impatient about, oh, it didn't work, let's change it, let's fix it. And if you have an ownership and management that says, let's slow down, let's cultivate what we have, you can gain an advantage.
So I did this earlier. Do you guys have it, Alex? Do we have it back there where I said of the 10 best players in the year in the NBA, and I judge a lot of this on postseason.
Yeah.
In the NFL, UFC, college football, hockey, you got to play hard every time you're on the floor or you get hurt. Basketball is different. There's load management. The referees officiate it differently in the postseason. It's 2 seasons. So to me, these are the 10 best players in the league currently. The front 4 are not perfect players, but they're really one-of-one international talents. There's nothing like Doncic, Curry, Giannis, and the Joker. The second tier, I have a question about all of them. LeBron's age, Durant's health, Davis's consistency, Tatum shrinking late, Embiid's health. And then I get to Jimmy Butler, and I'm like, I don't know if I really am concerned about anything, but I don't think he is a unique global talent.
Yeah.
Anything in that list? Now, again, you can argue Jamal Murray, Boozer, but of the 10 people I have, do I have it right in your opinion?
Well, I guess this is my question with having LeBron there after what you just said earlier about that he needs help. Like, I would hope that my top 10 guys, and certainly your top 4, like, do they really need help?
Well, yes. Doncic needs help. Yes.
In terms of playing for a championship.
So none of these players are perfect. The first 4 aren't perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, Giannis can't hit a free throw late.
Yeah.
But they're such unique players.
Yeah, they are. See, what's difficult is, and this list is kind of a reflection of it, is that I think we look so hard at offensive numbers and what guys do offensively, and Jimmy would be there because largely because he's a two-way player. I will say this, he's probably the most unique there, and pure talent, I'm not sure that he's top. I'm not sure if he's top 25.
No, I agree. He's a B-plus player in the regular season. But my takeaway is the basketball is different.
Yeah.
The postseason are where legacies are built.
Yeah.
And Jimmy is, in a Game 7, one of the 5 best players in the world. He has to be in my top 10. I don't care about the regular season. I don't care about Tuesday night in Orlando. Game 7 tomorrow. Give me 3 guys in the world you want over Butler. Steph, I'd take.
Well, then, in that definition, then I'm definitely putting LeBron in that group. The struggle that I have with Jimmy is that I think he's a top 5 leader in the game. Yeah. But much like we've seen and we saw in Game 2, is that he needs certain matchups to really influence the game.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Miami has to go in other directions.
Well, none of these players are flawless.
I know, but they can, like, if it's KD or it's Embiid, like, they can dominate almost whatever matchup you give them in a certain way. Jimmy can't. Like, Jimmy has to get Aaron Gordon off of him in order to be able to function. And so, but as a leader and his willingness to do that, like, I'm here when you need me. I'm still going to play hard defensively. Yeah. I'm still going to take the big shots in the fourth quarter when you need me. I'm available to do whatever you need.
He's the anti-Harden.
Yes.
He's best when it matters.
Yes, exactly. And I will and recognizes when he has a matchup and when he doesn't. He doesn't try to do more than he's capable of. Sometimes it's kind of the other way. But, like, is that a true superstar? I don't know that I can put him in that category.
Right, that's fair.
And trust me, I love his game. He's my daughter's favorite player, was long before this run. Yeah. So I've got things to deal with at home anytime I have any Jimmy Butler slander.
By the way, you in town all week?
I am. The bigger question is, are you in town all week?
I'm buying dinner tonight if you're available. Come on,
we might be able to make that work.
Boom.
Let's do it.